So UFC 300 was last night, ladies and gentlemen, and I think that UFC 300 lived up to all the expectations that we had for the event. We had a lot of great moments, and in this video, we're pretty much going to go through each and every single one of them. But before we do, all I ask is if you do watch my content, consider subscribing to the channel. It would definitely help me out a lot, and leave a comment on this video and also a like. Now let's go ahead and start with the first fight of the night, and that was Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. Now Deiveson Figueiredo was able to submit Cody Garbrandt in the second round after having a very competitive first round. I said before this fight started that if Deiveson Figueiredo goes ahead and closes the distance on someone like Cody Garbrandt, that's going to be his fastest path to victory, and that turned out to be the case, because as soon as Deiveson Figueiredo was taking down Cody Garbrandt, you could pretty much tell the difference between the grappling skills. I mean, if Cody Garbrandt wanted any chance of winning this fight, he should have tried his hardest to make this fight stay on the feet. Deiveson Figueiredo completely outclassed him in the ground and was able to submit him. Now, I think that Deiveson Figueiredo now having a second victory in the bantamweight division, it definitely puts him in a good situation to potentially fight for the title one day. Now, there is a lot of fights that we can see Deiveson Figueiredo potentially fighting in this division, given the fact that the bantamweight division is a very stacked one, right? There is a lot of contenders and a lot of great fighters. Now, honestly, I think that Deiveson Figueiredo has a good chance at potentially making his way towards the title and possibly fighting Sean O'Malley one day if he continues his streak. Now, he is a little bit undersized for this division. He is a little bit on the shorter side in this division, but I do think that Deiveson Figueiredo, if he continues to grapple and wrestle the way that he does, he could potentially make a run, a successful run towards the title. And that's just me being completely honest. There's a lot of great fights that I would like to see him potentially fight against. Maybe Peter Yan versus Deiveson Figueiredo. That would be a good matchup in my opinion. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What a great performance from Deiveson Figueiredo. All right, so the second fight of the night was Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. I mean, there's really not much to say from this fight. It was pretty competitive in the first round. I feel like Jim Miller did have his moments, but from rounds 2 to 3, it definitely belongs to Bobby Green. I don't know why Jim Miller didn't try to incorporate more wrestling or a takedown at least to get Bobby Green out of his flow. But in my opinion, yeah, Bobby Green completely ran away with this fight from rounds 2 to 3. He did so much damage to Jim Miller. By the end of the fight, Jim Miller looks completely unrecognizable. So a good win for Bobby Green at this UFC 300 for sure. I'm very curious who he's going to fight in his next fight in the UFC. All right, and the next fight was Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. I was talking so much shit about this fight, even though I do still believe that this was honestly the least interesting fight. It was a good scrap nonetheless. I think Jessica Andrade pretty much put a lot of pressure on Marina Rodriguez up until round 3. I think it was 1-1. I think Marina Rodriguez had a very good round 2, and I think Jessica Andrade had a really good first round. So it all just came down to round 3, and yeah, Jessica Andrade was able to secure her position in the rankings, and she was able to do her thing against Marina Rodriguez, who was looking to come up in the rankings, right? But I think that this was a pretty good little scrap. And yeah, congrats to Jessica Andrade for getting a successful victory over Marina Rodriguez. All right, and now we move on to a fight that pissed me off so much, and that was Jalin Turner versus Renato Moicano. I had Jalin Turner winning this freaking fight. I predicted that Jalin Turner was going to go ahead and run over Renato Moicano with his striking, which he almost freaking did. He knocked down Renato Moicano in the first freaking round. I think he had like 20 seconds to work, and for some reason he didn't follow up on Renato Moicano, and Renato Moicano was able to just come into the second round and just stop Jalin Turner and get the TKO win. But Jalin Turner's probably gonna regret not jumping on Renato Moicano for the rest of his freaking career. He had the opportunity to have a really good showing at UFC 300, and he freaking blew it. He freaking blew it. He blew the opportunity of having a memorable moment. And I'm still in disbelief, if I'm just being completely honest. because Jalen Turner had like 20 seconds to work on Renato Moicano. Even if he didn't knock him out, right? He could have. There were some precious seconds in there where he could have done a lot of damage to Renato Moicano, having his back turned to Jalen Turner. I mean, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I do believe that this is one of the biggest freaking misses from Jalen Turner that we've ever seen from him. And yeah, what a shame. What a shame. All right, and now we move on to Super Sodiq Yusuff versus Diego Lopes. I mean, this fight wasn't really too long. Diego Lopes walked into that octagon and did his thing. He was throwing freaking missiles and rockets and bombs on Sodiq Yusuff from the clinch. Some really short hooks and some really short uppercuts that knocked Sodiq Yusuff down over and over. Diego Lopes was able to secure a victory. He called out Movsar Evloev. For those of you guys that don't know, that was Diego's first fight in the UFC, and it was on short notice, and he had a really good showing. And there was moments where Diego Lopes probably could have won that fight the first time around, but now that he called him out for the second time, hopefully that's a fight that we see sometime soon. I would definitely like to see Diego Lopes get his revenge against Movsar Evloev. I think that would be a pretty interesting fight. But shout out to Diego Lopes, right? The Mexicans adopted him. He's from Brazil, and he's here to be a competitive fighter, ladies and gentlemen. Excited to see what the UFC does for Diego Lopes his next time around in the octagon. All right, and now we move on to Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. And Kayla Harrison did impress me, if I'm just being completely honest. It looked like she had a pretty bad weight cut, right? If you guys saw the weigh-ins, Kayla Harrison looked like absolute death, right? She looked like she went through hell to drop down all the way down to 135. And she did her thing against Holly Holm. And all I'm going to say is that Kayla Harrison looked like Vito Belfort in the octagon, right? I know there's a lot of people out here saying that Kayla Harrison looks like a guy with a wig. I'm not going to accuse her of being on HGH or testosterone. But all I'm going to say is that she's built like a dude, man. She's big. She has a huge ass back. She has some big freaking shoulders. She has some huge freaking arms. That might be through years and years and years of practicing judo, or it might be of other things. But all I can tell you guys honestly that I know for sure is that she impressed me tonight against Holly Holm. She had some pretty great moments. I don't know who they're gonna match her up against next. She is on the older side when it comes to being a prospect in the UFC. So they're probably going to throw her another big name now that she got through Holly Holm, which is probably what's to be expected. But yeah, Kayla Harrison had a good showing against Holly Holm nonetheless. And let's go ahead and move on to the next fight. All right, and now we have Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling, and I'm just going to be completely honest here, ladies and gentlemen. Whenever Aljamain Sterling isn't fighting like a dumbass, he does have really great moments. Calvin Kattar is a very dangerous striker. He's big, he's tall, he's long, pause, but Aljamain Sterling was able to do some great things out there, ladies and gentlemen. He was completely shutting down Calvin Kattar's output, which is really good to see. I know it's not the most flashy, it's not the most exciting style to witness and to watch, but Aljamain Sterling does have a very extremely efficient style. He was able to even it's like a Batista bomb. Like he was able to do a little Batista bomb against Calvin Kattar in the last round. And yeah, it was a pretty good performance from Aljamain Sterling. Dominant performance. Completely dominated Calvin Kattar from round 1 to round 2. Not in terms of striking, but in terms of completely controlling Calvin Kattar's output. In my opinion, I feel like if Aljamain Sterling gets another win or another 2 wins in the featherweight division, he might be fighting for the belt next. And if Ilia Topuria is still champion, I think that would be a pretty fun fight to witness, given the fact that a lot of people seem to be hyping up Ilia Topuria's grappling, even though he hasn't grappled with a top level fighter yet. I think it would be pretty interesting to see what Aljamain Sterling could do against someone like Ilia Topuria if that fight ever goes down. But yeah, great showing by Aljamain Sterling. Very excited to see what's next in his career. All right, and the next fight we had was Jiri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic, and I think this fight was pretty interesting given the fact that Alexander Rakic was completely beating up Jiri Prochazka in the first round. With all those freaking calf kicks. Jiri Prochazka definitely has a poker face, because I know those calf kicks he was receiving were very, very heavy, and I know they were definitely doing a lot of damage to Jiri Prochazka, who was limping in the first round because of those calf kicks. But Jiri Prochazka is his most dangerous whenever he does have momentum going for himself, and that is what he found in the second round, and he was able to get a TKO finish over Alexander Rakic. So congrats to Jiri Prochazka. I think he did have performance of the night, or yeah, he did get performance of the night over Alexander Rakic. And in my opinion, that was a good win for him, given the fact that a lot of people thought that he was probably going to lose this fight, given the fact that Alexander Rakic was having a really, really, really dominant first round. So that was a great win for Jiri Prochazka. He's probably going to fight Alex Pereira again for the second time. I think that would be a good fight. I think they definitely should run it back, given the fact that Jiri Prochazka did have a good showing tonight against Alexander Rakic. To start off the main card, we had Bo Nickal versus Cody Brundage. There was a lot of people out there that wanted to see Bo Nickal lose this fight. Everybody's calling him arrogant for some reason. I honestly don't really see it. But for some reason, yeah, there's already so many Bo Nickal haters out there. It is absolutely insane. But he was able to stop Cody Brundage in the second round via submission, and apparently he didn't like his performance. He gave himself two thumbs downs after the performance, even though he got a submission in the second round. That's absolutely insane. This guy has really, really high standards and really high expectations from himself. Even though he got a submission in the second round, still not happy about that. But yeah, congrats to Bo Nickal for getting that win against Cody Brundage. All right, and the next fight after that was Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan, and there was a lot of people that were disappointed by the outcome of this fight, ladies and gentlemen, because of the top three in the lightweight division, Charles Oliveira was the next person to defend his rank, and unfortunately, he lost to Arman Tsarukyan last night at UFC 300. But in my opinion, I feel like Charles Oliveira was still pretty competitive, even though, yeah, he lost to Arman Tsarukyan. He was still pretty competitive in that fight. It almost ended literally in the first round, right at the beginning. Then it almost ended again towards the end of the fight. But Arman Tsarukyan was doing a very, very good job at having dominant positions over Charles Oliveira. I recount Arman Tsarukyan landing some vicious elbows on Charles Oliveira in the second round. In my opinion, that was a great showing for Arman Tsarukyan. Maybe we'll see Arman take on Islam Makhachev sometime soon. And if we do, I honestly do believe that we're going to see a masterclass in grappling and wrestling. And that's probably one of the fights that we're going to see soon if Islam is able to get through Dustin Poirier, which is a fight that was announced after UFC 300. But yeah, congrats to Arman Tsarukyan. He was finally able to defeat a great fighter. Great showing by him. And now for probably the biggest fight last night, and that was Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. And obviously this fight ended with 1 second left on the clock in the final round, something that you guys would probably only hear in movies. But yeah, it was a great fight. It was a great fight. Justin Gaethje, let me just tell you guys something. This dude, I think that he broke his nose with a spinning heel kick from not a spinning heel kick, but like a spinning kick from Max Holloway. And he gets his eye poked twice, I think, in round 2, and he just keeps on fighting. He keeps on fighting. I think he was actually really, really hurt. I think that round 1, the final round of round 1, wherever we saw potentially Justin Gaethje break his nose, potentially, we don't know if he broke his nose or not, but I think that round messed him up for the rest of the fight, and Max Holloway was just able to kind of drive away with the fight, to say the least. But yeah, what a great freaking showing by Max Holloway. There was a lot of people out there that were counting him out for this fight, myself included. I felt like Justin Gaethje was going to go in there and outposition Max Holloway, given the fact that Justin Gaethje has had really good performances against other strikers like Fiziev and Dustin Poirier. I thought he was going to do something similar to Max Holloway. But I think right whenever Justin Gaethje was about to start getting to work, Max Holloway had that spinning kick that affected Justin Gaethje throughout the rest of the fight. And Max Holloway completely took advantage of that. Smart of him to do so. And landed probably one of the craziest knockouts that we've ever seen in UFC history. And now that UFC 300 is behind us, we're definitely going to always be reminded of the moment that Max Holloway shocked the world, because originally people were counting him out in this fight, let's not forget, and landed a literally a last second knockout against one of the most dangerous men in the organization. So yeah, crazy moment by Max Holloway. And for the co-main event, we had Weili Zhang versus Yang Xiaonan. Now, I said this leading up to the fight that the difference was going to be in the wrestling and the grappling. And yes, that looked like it was definitely the case. For Yang Xiaonan, that is obviously her biggest weakness right now. She is very good at striking, like Zhang Weili, but the main thing that she absolutely needs to work on is her wrestling and grappling abilities. Now, this fight went back and forth the first couple rounds. It looked like Zhang Xiaonan actually won a round or two, but Weili absolutely sealed the deal in her last round, and she was able to get a decision against Zhang Xiaonan. I think a lot of people really overlooked this fight, in my opinion, but at the end, it ended up being a very entertaining co-main event. All right, and obviously the main event was Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. And yeah, I mean, Jamal Hill does talk a good one. He did talk a good one. He was able to convince a whole lot of people that he was gonna somehow compete with Alex Pereira in the standing. And I said this from the get-go. I'm just like, I think Jamal Hill is a smart guy. I think that Jamal Hill is probably trolling everybody, right, by saying that he's going to go ahead and stand with Alex Pereira. I honestly did think that Jamal Hill was going to try to go for a takedown as early as possible and try to get some groundwork on Alex Pereira. But he stayed true to his words. He stayed true to his words. He actually wanted to stand and bang with Alex Pereira and got knocked out for it. So, yeah, there goes that Jamal Hill. I honestly, like I said, I honestly thought that Jamal Hill was going to incorporate some sort of wrestling, some sort of grappling, but he failed to do so. It is what it is. Congratulations to Alex Pereira. Apparently, there's news that he's going to be fighting in heavyweight. Tom Aspinall posted a picture of him looking at Alex Pereira. Whatever that means, we don't know. But if Alex Pereira does go to heavyweight, he's gonna absolutely destroy Tom Aspinall. I'm here saying it. I'm here saying it. If Alex Pereira goes to heavyweight and they give him Tom Aspinall, he's gonna beat Tom Aspinall. Alex Pereira has so much momentum going for him right now. I think it's written. It's written for Alex Pereira. What he's accomplished in the last couple of years being in MMA is never gonna be replicated ever again in UFC history. And I want to see Alex Pereira go all the way and be the first person to ever win in 3 divisions. Let's see it. Let's see Alex Pereira accomplish that. It's Tom Aspinall's job to make sure that doesn't happen. But Alex Pereira has all the momentum going for him right now. And I would love to see it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about UFC 300. It was a fun event, in my opinion. Like I said, it lived up to each and every single expectation that it had. And I had fun watching it. I had fun streaming my reactions to each and every single one of the fights. So I appreciate those that stopped by the live stream. As always, it was a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.